It's time for Mama Bear Donita on the Mama Bear Cancer Support Radio podcast. Welcome to the Sharing Den, where we share cancer stories, products, and information to support anyone going through the journey. We will be there for you. We will be there with you. Now, welcome Mama Bear Donita.
Hey, this is Mama Bear Donita, and you're listening to the Mama Bear Cancer Support Radio podcast on Society Bites Radio, part of the Radio Ear Network family. My podcasts are also available on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Miami Community Radio, Fort Lauderdale Community Radio, and the SOB Network. And today I want to welcome back Tracy. We are doing a series of 4 on communication and how important communication is in all of life, honestly. And conflict, today we're going to be talking about the chemistry of conflict, and conflict is so difficult that people try to avoid it, but so essential that without it, relationships suffer due to dishonesty. Learning to work through conflict will actually enhance communication and improve relationships. Hi, Tracy. Welcome back.
Hi, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
I really, it's funny, I don't get much feedback on shows, but I actually got an email just last night that was saying she really appreciated the last show we did on communication, and she looked forward to the next one. So I thought that was kind of fun. I don't hear that often, and it was nice to know, that we're hitting it out there. So
that's great.
Yes. So we're on show number 3, and today we're going to talk about the chemistry of conflict. And on the first show we did on communication, we touched on help me out with how you say this word.
It's the amygdala.
Well, that's what it looks like. Amygdala.
It's just it's hard knowing how those syllables are supposed to be read.
Well, and I will have to come clean in that, I'm usually do this between 11 and 1 Eastern time, but I'm in Seattle, so it's like 9:09, and I got up really early.
Good morning.
So, yes, hello. Haven't had any coffee because we ran out of pods in our Airbnb, so I'm just kind of winging it. So let's talk a little bit more about the, say it again?
Amygdala.
Amygdala.
The amygdala is actually, it's an almond-shaped and sized set of neurons located deep in the brain's medial temporal lobe. It's in fact, the root of the word amygdala is Greek for almond. And it actually looks like a little almond in there, and it kind of is about the size of an almond. We have 2 of these, one on each side of our brain. And they are actually the center of our limbic system. And the limbic system is that part of our body, or that part of our response that governs our fight, flight, or freeze response to emotional arousal. So, and it's actually, they've found that the amygdala, the structure itself, has been in other words, the larger it is in a species, the more aggressive you are. So it not only links to aggression, but also sexual responses, libido. So anything that has to do with a heightened sense of emotion, the amygdala is controlling that.
So do you think like empaths have like a huge amygdala?
That could possibly be true.
I just wonder, like, if they did like a study on that or something, can you see it? Can you find it on like an MRI or something?
Yes, you absolutely can. It's that little, and I think that what they've shown is that it fires like crazy when you're in that kind of, that place. So conditions like anxiety, autism, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, especially phobias, they're all linked to abnormal functioning of the amygdala, or something that changes the way the amygdala responds to stimulus.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a little tiny piece of your brain that governs a lot of your body.
And so what does the I'm going to get it right, amygdala have to do with communication?
Well, when your amygdala is stimulated, it actually triggers the release of chemicals that cause the glands of the limbic system, which are the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenals, to respond in turn to release their chemicals. So when that happens, your amygdala kind of like squirts out all of these hormones or chemicals and neurotransmitters that make you go into an immediate heightened emotional response. And there's a definite physical reaction that makes it very obvious that your amygdala is firing.
So if you throw cat food at somebody, that means your amygdala
absolutely
is on full throttle.
Full throttle. And what actually happened, they call it an amygdala hijack. And they actually refer to the amygdala as your irrational brain. Because what happens is it shuts off your prefrontal lobe, your cerebral cortex. Anything that has to do with rational thought is actually kind of nixed. That these hormones shut those off so that you can put all of your energy into your fight, your flight, or your freeze. So what you'll notice physically is that you start sweating, your breath gets very fast, your heart starts pounding, your muscles get very tight, you'll flush, and other physical changes that actually show, oops, this person has zoned into this place, and I'm not going to be able to get a rational response from this person.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm very effective with that. Like
Most of us are. But what's funny is, we've got the aggressive people who want to fight, right? And then we have the people who just say, I gotta go, and all of a sudden they disappear. My ex-husband was like that. Whenever he would get upset, he would just go into his room and close the door without saying anything. He would just like, nope, I'm out of here. And then the freeze people are just kind of like sputter and shake, and they kind of can't really do anything. So,
and I wish that sometimes I would fly or freeze instead of fight, because that whole cat food thing is a personal experience. I actually threw a bowl of dry cat food at my husband one time.
Well, at least it wasn't the wet kind.
I know. And it's a funny story because we found cat food for like years, like forever. So, and it was, like I had just been pushed into the corner and I was so frustrated that I couldn't use any words. And that's just what happened, like it was just, and it's a true response. Like my normal self would never, well, I guess obviously I would, or I wouldn't have done it to begin with, I don't guess. But I really, I did it. And as I was doing it, as I watched the 900 pieces of tiny cat food go all over my car in the garage and everywhere else, I was like, why did I just do that? What did that do? Wouldn't do any good.
Right. But it felt good.
It did feel good.
And it was like, I'm responding. So
is that something I could control? Can you control your amygdala?
You really can't. And your response, whether you fight, flee, or freeze, it depends on a lot of things. Genetics, it depends on how you were raised. I was raised that you're not allowed to raise your voice. A lot of women, I think, were, that's unladylike. You're not supposed to yell. You're not supposed to get angry. So we kind of go into that flee or freeze, most of us. But it happens in such a split second that you don't choose it. So you can't choose to stop it. But you can kind of recognize it once you're in the pattern. But it takes 6 seconds for all those chemicals to kind of spurt out, and then it takes them a while to kind of dissipate after that.
Right.
So your brain is just like soaking in this soup of chemicals.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know. I know exactly that feeling. And it's not like I go there often, but if I get pushed, to the point where my communication, and I don't feel like I'm able to communicate, how I shut down is things like throwing cat food. I really, I have a friend of mine who threw a knife at her husband. At least I didn't throw a knife. So,
yeah, if you were in the garage, then there was a lot available there.
There were a lot of opportunities in there. There's a hammer and everything.
Lucky guy.
But, I'm just saying, I know exactly what you're saying. And it's so nice to know that it's a chemical response, then that makes it a little easier for your self-talk too. And maybe how to recognize when that's coming. You can't control it, but maybe you can recognize and do some damage control after that 6 seconds and further seconds have passed. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And some of the things that you can do that in the moment, the best thing you can do really is to kind of give yourself a timeout and just say, I gotta go over here in the corner and breathe for a minute. Just give me a couple of seconds or a couple minutes, or so I don't throw a bottle of cat food at you or anything like that. And then the best thing to do once you give the hormones, those chemicals, a chance to kind of dissipate, the best thing you can do is get your rational brain involved. So look out the window, try to find, a bird, look at a tree, try to find a butterfly, tune into music if that's playing. Think about your favorite smells, whether it's chocolate or coffee or fresh grass or whatever. If you've got like a peppermint or something, put it in your mouth. So all of these ways of engaging your senses and making you think, because until you do that, you're incapable of rational thought. And so anything that you say in that heat of the moment, that's why we say things that we regret when we're really angry or very scared, because the first thing that comes out of your mouth is going to be from that limbic brain. It's going to be from the irrational side. So it's almost like that, the thing that you most don't want to say is the thing that usually comes out of your mouth.
Oh, sure. And then you're like, no, but really, or my favorite is you don't even think anything, or really maybe 1 second thought about it and then dismissed it. But yet in the middle of experiencing a full blown up amygdala, how do you say it?
Amygdala.
Amygdala, man, that word.
Think of a pig. Pig.
Oh, I even spelled it out phonetically in front of me, and that's not helping. So when you're in the middle of that, you definitely, something will come out of my mouth and I'm like, what? I don't even know where that came from. I didn't even actually cognitively think that. So,
right.
And I've tried to explain that. And it seems to only happen with my husband or my kids, but it's he'll look at me and be like, where'd that come from? And I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, well, you said it, so you must mean it. I'm like, no, not necessarily. I don't know where it came from.
Nope, haven't thought about that in a long time. I dreamed it. But...
yeah, somewhere. But how do you know, how could I tell my husband that when someone is talking, when someone that I'm talking to experiencing that type of response?
Well, I was thinking about this, and the best example that I came up with was, because so many people can relate to it. The movie The Christmas Story, and Ralphie's dad he kind of spews out all kinds of stuff. But when the Bumpus Hounds come into the house and grab the turkey and start fighting over the turkey, his response is a classic amygdala response. So he clenches his fists. His voice actually goes up a bunch of octaves.
Yeah.
He can't even speak. He's like, Bumpus, and he's kind of like, you can actually see it in his face. He's got the clenched fists, the red face. He's like pulling down his shirt, and he's like just getting really angry. And that's typical, is that, the first thing you might see is kind of a quiet change. You'll see that the jaw will tighten visibly. They'll have that angry eyes look. My husband always says, oh my God, the eyes, I'm in trouble now. The eyes, because I'm a Scorpio. You can relate to this.
Yes,
and
I can.
Me, it's it's that eye thing first. And again, I don't control that. I don't even realize I'm doing it until my husband goes, oh my God, stop with the eyes already.
My husband said I snarl my lip, and I was like, no, I don't. He's like, yes, you do.
But you'll actually, some people will actually move toward you, and that's again, that's a very old conditioned response from, that's a biological response. And the flea